high enough. Ain't no valley low enough. Ain't no river wide enough to keep me from getting to you, babe. Okay, now we're getting to seriousness. Okay, you guys watched my video earlier that I posted on my Facebook page. I always listen to music before I start live or do any type of videos or anything like that. So if you are watching, go ahead and post a comment in the comment section so I know you're here. And we'll get started in just a minute. Kind of out of breath now. But what we're talking about today is one of my favorite topics, and that is how to start thinking bigger with your online courses. And doing this by potentially selling your courses and programs to associations, businesses, and corporate. So instead of selling a premium flagship program for maybe, let's say, $1,000 a price point, which is already amazing because you're no longer trading time for money because you have this scalable business asset. But now what if we can add 1 or 2 zeros to that price point? And I know that might seem like not even possible, but that's what we're going to talk about today is really how you can make this happen. So I am going to, I guess first off, talk about like why it's such an exciting opportunity right now, because there is $300 billion, billion with a B, not million, billion, spent annually on that businesses spend on training. And that's already an amazing opportunity as it is, but there's some shifts happening within the industry that are making it even more of an ideal situation. And one of those shifts is that the training development departments are realizing that their old school internal training platforms just are not as effective as they need to be. And the ROI that they're seeing is not like really up to par. And the results they can get from contracting out some of this training to people just like me and you is bringing in much higher results. So there's this big shift where a lot of those $300 billion are shifting away from like these internal trainings that are actually done in-house to outside vendors. Now, another big shift that's happening is that a lot of that money is going towards tuition reimbursement and continuing education courses. But the educational system in a whole, from a macro level, is going through a lot of changes as well. So instead of only having the opportunity to learn from those traditional education systems, like going to get your MBA or going to college, now you can learn directly from the person that has already achieved the results that you want to achieve. So learning directly online through an online course or program or going to a mastermind might be more effective for a lot of people than going to get a full MBA at $100,000. So a lot of companies and businesses are also now approving these types of programs that you may possibly be creating and having the employer actually pay for it. So that's a little bit of a different strategy, but still it's another shift that's making like it possible to now not have the customers have to pay for it, but have it be submitted as a continuing education expense that their company will actually pay for. And I've had a lot of clients have success with this. So that's really, really cool. Now, Ryan, I think he liked my singing. So I guess I'll first give you some examples of like big companies that are doing this because I know a lot of people are probably familiar with these. And an example would be Ritz-Carlton, Ritz-Carlton's world-renowned sale or customer service training. So Ritz-Carlton put all this time and effort into creating this fabulous program for their own employees, and now they're selling it to businesses across the world. Same thing with Zappos. I just saw is doing something pretty similar, where they have Zappos. I think I wrote it down here. I can't remember the exact name of it. Zappos School of Wow. And it's again like customer service training that they're selling to corporations. So these are really big examples, like big companies. But I also want to kind of share some of smaller companies that are still doing this extremely successfully. And move my head over a little bit so you can see this. So also when I say corporate, I don't want you to get kind of like stuck up on the fact that it needs to be like this Fortune 500 company. When I'm referring to corporate, I could also be using the words associations, small businesses, or groups. It doesn't have to be like, you don't have to be selling to Coca-Cola to make this really profitable. And one example of this would be Fairy Dust Teaching. And Sally was an amazing client. Like, her passion and energy for what she does is just absolutely amazing. And she teaches other childhood educational professionals, basically teachers, how to bring wonder and awe back into the classroom. And not only does she sell it directly to the teachers, but she's also selling these programs as a licensing opportunity for schools. So the school is the one actually purchasing the course at a much higher price point and then giving all their teachers access to it. And I'll show you how this all works on the back end. But basically it's where you sell it once, but then they get multiple licenses, and you can decide how many licenses that you want to give. And then they're able to sell it or give it to their employees. And you can do this on a monthly basis where they pay monthly, or you can do this where they pay annually. There's so many different opportunities for the way of structuring this. Another example would be the Elite Advisor. So Erin Botsford is a really successful financial advisor, and she's built and managed and ran multiple firms and then also sold them. So a lot of advisors get into this point where they want to scale their business, but they're great at what they do. They don't actually know how to run a firm. And so this is training that now is sold to the actual business, to the advisor firm, and then they can license this out and give it to their employees. And there's a lot of companies or a lot of firms that are interested in this. And the process of negotiations is extremely exciting. And these multi-million-dollar contracts. So going from just selling one-on-one to now the potential of selling multi-million-dollar annual licenses, that's life-changing. I mean, it's already life-changing as it is creating a course and switching from that trading time for money trap to now a scalable business asset. And then this is just mind-blowing. This could just take it to a whole nother freaking level. Another example would be another one. I think I say all my clients are my favorite because I love all of you guys. But Isa Herrera, and they owned a very successful wellness or healing center in New York City for over 10 years, bringing in multiple millions of dollars. And then they wanted to now take this on to a bigger level and be able to serve people worldwide versus being constrained to that geographic barrier. So they've built these online courses and programs that are doing really well, and now moving into selling this to corporations. And are in the process of starting what that's going to look like, but the potential here is just, it's huge because what they're teaching is really going to help with FMLA and women coming back on maternity. And so I'm super excited about this one. And so I'm giving these examples because they're all very different industries. We have teachers, we have financial management, we have health practitioners. Joe McCormick is the author of Brief. He's a client here in Chicago, or was a previous client, and we created a certification program that is now sold to businesses where they teach their employer, they purchase the license, and then they have their employees take management courses and training. And this teaches them things like leadership skills, communication skills, how to get their corporate messaging in line so everyone's speaking the same language and your brand culture is really on point. But these are just a few examples of what's possible. And really, I'm always amazed at the different types of businesses that come and explain how they're making money, because it's something I would never even thought of, and they're doing extremely well of it. So I don't want to say that I have all the answers for what can be sold to businesses, but if we think about it, any company at a certain level now has this budget that they can spend for training. And a huge part of that, there's a lot of different things that companies will pay for, but of course, a huge type of training or benefit that's offered is health and wellness. So there is so much potential for anyone in the health and wellness, or Isa in the medical profession, to now sell your training or your courses to corporations, because any company with a certain budget has a certain amount of money to go to spend on that health and benefits. And they're looking for people just like you to be able to purchase these programs and provide them to their employees as an employee benefit. And there's also a very strong ROI tied to here. So I've had a few clients, I know a few other just peers that have done this in ergonomics, because ergonomics is a huge hot topic for a lot of companies. And it's very easy to prove the ROI on if you don't have to be sending people out to get surgery from carpal tunnels, or they're not taking all these sick days because they can't get out of bed because their back hurts. That's an easy ROI to prove. So with that said, I made a little list here. Of the different types of training that companies pay for. I mean, so management training is always going to be a huge one. Communication skills, presentation skills, problem solving skills, leadership, emotional intelligence, and then the health and wellness, anything in health and wellness. So along with that, I mean, I guess there are so many opportunities for so many different industries, but the people that should really, like, if you're not doing it, I think that you're completely missing out, is one, especially corporate consultants or people, or if you are already selling to corporate, like you already are doing one-on-one consulting or on-site consulting, or you're selling some type of corporate consulting packages to businesses, you really need to think about implementing or integrating an online or digital component to that. And it's not to completely cannibalize your on-site, but there's different strategies of being able to do this. So one, it could be the front end side of the offer, where anyone at that front of the funnel, you haven't sold them yet. So offering like a smaller version of what you're doing in like online digital like version is a really much easier entry point for them to be able to purchase, and less of a commitment than having them sign like an annual contract for you to do on-site consulting at hundreds of $1,000s a year. Like if you can offer that first front end, which might be the digital component, the online version, and then they see the results and then they want to bring you on to your on-site. It could be part of your sales funnel. Second is, I mean, there may be a lot of companies, it might not work out geographically or budget-wise. They don't have the budget to bring you on site, but they really do want their employees to be able to learn from you and for your trainings to be in the company. And so offering that other option where they can purchase the online course instead of maybe you coming on site is extremely valuable. And now it's going to give you a lot more opportunity to sell to a wider range of companies. And then thirdly, which I think this is where it fits in for the most people, if you're doing on-site consulting or if you're doing corporate consulting, say like quarterly or annually, then incorporating also an online component to it is extremely valuable. It's really going to increase that perceived value and real value when you're going into the sales conversation with companies, that not only are you just there for one day in doing the on-site, but you also have this program that they can give access to all their employees, that their employees can take all throughout the year. Because we don't learn things like right away. Like it's a continual process you need to go through to really make it sink in. So if you have that online component, that now like not only are you doing like the immersive, dust is flying around, this immersive day on site, it's not just like one and done, and hopefully people retained it. Hopefully people were feeling well. Hopefully they were paying attention. You also now get to supplement it with the online courses. So that is just one industry that just totally needs to be doing this. Same thing for keynote speaking. Basically, if you're being paid for keynote speaking by businesses and companies to come speak to their employees, to their team, what they're basically telling you is, hey, I like what you're teaching. I want to give you money. And you should say, of course, I'd love to come talk and do this keynote. And I'd love to take more of your money by offering you this training program that you can give to your employees. Because if they're paying you to come speak, they think that you have something in value to be teaching to their employees. If they're paying you $20,000, $10,000, $20,000, $30,000 for this keynote, that's amazing. Why not offer a $100,000, $200,000 annual licensing agreement to now sell this training that you're giving that all their employees can have. Like that is just a total golden opportunity because they've already basically told you they're interested. So aside from like those, again, like health and wellness is huge, but then there's so many other avenues. Like sales, that's a whole other thing. I don't know how I didn't think about that one yet, but Megan Wessels reminds me, like, with you being on here, Megan is a genius when it comes to networking and relationship building, but then she's also a genius when it comes to like LinkedIn strategies. So selling LinkedIn training to corporation and businesses that's a no-brainer. I mean, everyone has sales. Examples of other companies that have been doing this is Grant Cardone sells his Cardone University to companies all over the world, and there's so many other ones. But it comes to Instagram marketing, personal branding. There's so many different topics that are also very new and emerging. I'm not saying like Instagram is very new, but when you come like looking at it from a business standpoint, corporate is a little bit more bureaucratic and old school. Like it took them however many years to realize that there was ROI on social media. A lot of these things are really new to businesses. They know it's important, but they have no idea how to start implementing it into like their company. So selling courses and training to them on how to use Instagram stories, how to build a personal brand within the corporation. Because I think the more employees that have their own personal brand on top of what they're already doing for the company, and it's done strategically, that's more power to that company. Like if you have, everyone at Target, like not everyone, I guess everyone, that would be amazing. But think about if every employee at Target started focusing on building a personal brand with Instagram stories and social media and infusing the Target culture, mission, and values into that personal brand, because that should be part of what they believe in too if they're working for that company. That is like I don't know how many employees Target has. I know it's a lot. Let's just say like 500,000 like mini influencers running around because they're building this brand focusing and promoting Target. That would be amazing, I think, if I was a business. So a few things that if you wanted to like actually do this, how does this all work? Now, I think it's important I think the way that you present your course and the design and the aesthetics and how it looks is important regardless, especially as online courses and this industry becomes more and more competitive. But when it comes to selling to corporate, like it's a deal breaker. Like you have to look the part, and not just corporate, but like associations or selling these license programs. It does need to be presented in a high value, well designed format. Like you can't go into it just like, oh, here's haphazardly like random things thrown together without a style guide. So looks do matter and are extremely important when it comes to selling these programs or thinking about taking your course that next level and adding a few zeros to that price point. Now, one thing that you can keep in mind is I've had clients, I've spoken to a lot of people that they're building these relationships with businesses, almost going through the sales process without the training actually already built. And they're getting that basically buy-in, or they're getting companies that are interested. And now basically the companies are willing to fund and pay in advance for that training to be built. So that's where like these type of partnerships, or the more that I can teach and expand people's awareness about this opportunity, works really well for me on the flip side, because if I have clients or potential clients that now have gotten the green light and a $30,000 advance check to build this training platform, they can now take that money, give it to me, and we build the platform, or my company, not just me, to actually build that platform and the functionality that's needed. You could totally learn how to do this yourself, and it's one of the things that we teach in Online Courses Academy, which is my my flagship program. And basically, like, you take the templates that we've already designed, everything looks really professional, you have the platform that can sustain and support this functionality that's needed, and then you go out and sell it. So the other thing is, it's really important when it comes to selling these programs is, so number one is looks. Number two is that companies want to see an ROI on this investment. They want to be able to see that they want to be able to see that those results, that's more of a longer term thing. Like they're not going to be able to see that right away, but the thing that they can see right away is activity and making sure that their employees are actually using and consuming the training courses that they're purchasing, and then also holding people accountable for taking these programs. And so this is actually a really good thing for people selling courses, because I know some people always have that fear. Well, what if they just like buy one course, or they buy like the smallest license, but then they give it to everyone in their employee and they just share access and login? That doesn't happen, or is I going to say it never happens, but it really, that defeats the purpose, because now there's no way of holding people accountable. Each individual person, employee, needs to have their login, needs to have their individual login, so that their manager can track that they're actually taking the course, they're passing the quizzes, they're meeting deadlines, and there's that accountability. So I remember when I was in corporate hospital administration, and I had about 50 employees underneath me, sometimes it was like herding sheep trying to get these people to take these courses. Like there's always these online continuing education programs that people have to take. Really have to like hunt them down, text them. I'm like, if you don't finish your course, this training course, like you cannot work. And then I would have to find cover someone to fill their spot in the ER in midnight. So I understand that this from the other end of the spectrum, in the biggest healthcare corporation in the United States, Hospital Corporation of America. I remember what it was like doing these types of training and holding people accountable. So I understand it from that side of things too. I want to show you I'm going to share my screen real quick so you could kind of see how this looks on the back end. Okay, hopefully you guys can see this. Yes, you can. And so this would be an example of what it looks like on the back end there we go, for the user, the manager. So once someone purchases the program, then on your training platform, you would give them access to a page kind of like this, where they can add users, they can remove users. I need to make this a lot prettier. This is on mine right now. But basically, it's very simple. They can add as many users as you've given them ability to add. Say they get the 10 license, they get a 100% license, and then they can add them here. They can disconnect them if they're no longer working for them, or they're in a different department, and then add someone different. And then they can also track see the stats, see the reporting in the back end. And this is done with LearnDash and Memberium. So there's other options too, like you can do this with LearnDash and MemberPress. I personally am using LearnDash and Memberium. 95% of my clients are as well. But there are other options, like you don't have to be using Infusionsoft because that's what integrates with this. You can be using any CRM. And that's how that looks. Now, the other big hot topic that you want to take into consideration is gamification. And so using a platform like LearnDash, and LearnDash is an LMS, a learning management system, that allows you to gamify things, is extremely valuable to companies, because it's just been proven in the more and more like studies and stats that are being done in it, that if you can incorporate some of that friendly competition within the business, that results tend to skyrocket. And sometimes it's as simple as just like putting up the dashboard on a TV in your office with the different stats or a leaderboard. That can be enough to get people's performance to just start elevating extremely. And I know I'm like that. Like if there's a leaderboard, I want to be at the top of that leaderboard. And I've always been like that since, I don't know, I was born probably, just really competitive. In my Strength Finders test, I think it's my number 2. Vision or futuristic thinking is number 1. I'm pretty sure competition is number 2. And a lot, if you're in sales or a lot of people do have that competitive nature, and it just makes things a little bit more fun. You can tie awards to them. You can tie bonuses. I think we did it back in corporate. It was like I can't remember what it was, but there was just like a dashboard, different stats were needed. And if you were at the top end of the stats, like you got an extra PTO day, or a day off, or maybe you got like an extended lunch, or you were the employee of the month and your picture was on the bulletin board, little things like that can make a huge difference. And I think that is pretty much sums up like the main points that I wanted to talk about. So like this is my favorite topic to talk about because it really can change the game completely for so many people. I mean, you're already doing amazing if you have an online course, but now like thinking about it on a whole nother level where what if I can sell this to businesses and instead of charging $1,000 price point, I'm charging $10,000, $100,000, $1 million. It's like mind boggling that this is even a possibility, but it's something that is like continuing to increase and is projected for these like business budgets for training and development to continue to increase for the next few years at least, and then we'll have new stats in the next few years to see if that's true. But if you guys have any more questions on this, please let me know. Post them in the comments, post them in the post. I might create like a little worksheet because I know I threw out a lot of different resources here on some of the stuff that I can give to you. And then if you do have, if you are interested in this, you can of course contact my company about how we can start building this for you. And again, if you're already selling to corporate, this is a huge opportunity for like you to take things really to the next level. And I think will also help with that sales process when it comes to like if it came down to the wire and like it's you versus someone else, but this other person, not only do they do the on-site and program with something similar, but they also offer training that can be then given to all the employees online all throughout the year, 24/7. Then if it was everything else was equal, I'm not saying they're better than you, but if everything was equal and it was that versus this is going to win. The one with that additional component every time. Of course, you can find ways to differentiate yourself and still not have that, but you could also just differentiate yourself and add that, and then you would just be like unstoppable. So I'm going to end that with that comment, and I will talk to you guys later.